Should you flip houses or should you buy rental properties? My name is Brandon Turner, author of a bunch of random real estate books about mostly rental properties. And here with me today is my good friend and house flipper, Cameron Cathcart. What's up, Cam?
What's up, Brandon?
I brought Cam in here, one, because of the co-host of the Better Life podcast with me, but two, because we have very different businesses. I buy mostly rentals, and Cam, you buy?
Mostly flips.
The idea was a lot of people asked us this question. Should I buy flips or should I buy rentals? Should I buy flips or rentals? And although it's easy to try to spend, 6 hours going through every nuanced reason why you might do one versus the other, I thought it'd be more fun for us just to take a hardline stance, me with rentals and Cam, you with flips, and let's just argue the points. Like there was a newbie sitting in front of us saying, hey, what should I do? I'm going to try to convince the newbie of one thing. You're going to convince him of the other. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
All right.
I can't wait.
So first of all, for just a quick background, again, my name is Brandon Turner. I have 13,000-ish rental units right now across about 25 different states. Been doing this for about 20 years now. So I love rentals. I do not flip anymore. I used to flip houses back in the day. I still think flipping's cool. But again, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to argue that flipping is a bad idea right now and you shouldn't do it. And I'm going to let Cam tell a little bit about himself and his kind of position.
My name is Cameron. I am the owner of Revel City Home Buyers, Revel City Properties. And we buy about 100 houses a year, and we flip most of those houses via flipping, actually a retail flip or a wholesale. We do keep a decent number of those as rental properties because I do love investing in rental properties. But again, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to make it sound as dumb as possible.
I love it. All right, Cam, so what we should start out, I'll give you the floor to begin. Why is flipping the right choice right now? Here we are in 2024, by the way. We're filming this. Why is flipping right now?
So flipping right now is the right thing to do, more so because buying rental properties is the wrong thing to do, if that makes sense at all. So a couple things with rental properties. One is that there's this dream of passive income that people talk about a lot, and financial freedom and having your number. And I have 50 plus rental doors, and it's not passive at all. Even with having a property management company that we own and having multiple employees that work for that property management company, it's still not passive whatsoever. We still have to put time and effort into it. We still have problems all the time. So it's not as passive as people would make it sound. The second reason that I would not buy rental properties is because interest rates right now are incredibly high. And so at 8% right now, you have to be at essentially the 1.5% rule, which the 1% rule is if you're all into a property for $2,000, you need to rent it out at $2,000 for it to cash flow.
You mean $200,000?
$200,000. Yeah. You need to rent it out at $2,000 for it to cash flow. The 1% rule does not work at all anymore. You need to be at 1.5% to almost 2% for it to work. So that means that if I'm all in for a property at $2,000, I need it to rent at $3,000 for it to cash flow. Now, there are people out there that I would argue don't know what they're doing, and they say, well, my mortgage is $1,900 and I'm renting it out for $2,400 and I'm cash flowing $500 a month. That's not true at all. You have CapEx, maintenance, vacancy, property management, taxes, HOAs. There's so many different things that come into that where people just do not know what they're doing. And so rental properties right now, because of interest rates, do not work to cash flow.
All right, so I'm going to agree with everything you said there, but I'm going to take a different approach at the end of it. So yeah, interest rates are really high right now. It's really tough to make a property cash flow the traditional route. If that means you're going to go buy a fixed up, already nice house that's got a pretty cute kitchen and a cute front porch, you're going to go buy it in a nice area. It's on the open market. You're competing against all the homeowners who got cash and all the rich people who got cash. Yeah, that's not going to cash flow. So I'll come back to that in just a minute. Cash flow in general is not, I agree, it's not what people think it is. I've been teaching this for years. There's pure cash flow, which is what it actually is. And then there's phantom cash flow, which is what $2,400 rent and $1,900 expenses. Your expenses are way higher. The water heater is going to go out every 4 years. And that's going to be $1,000 to fix. That means you got to set aside, $12 every month for the water heater and the stove and the fridge, everything. I mean, the landscaping, the windows, everything adds up. But you can still find those deals. They do exist out there. And so the first point, though, you made about rentals are not passive. I've written numerous books, usually the books on rental properties. They have the word passive in the title, and I would agree, especially in the beginning, they're not passive. But when you go to the gym, in the first time you're at the gym, you're like, wow, I'm really sore. I don't see any bigger muscles. I better just not go to the gym anymore. But we all know that you stick with the gym for a long time, you become better and better at it. You're not as sore and you build a lot more muscles. So I would say, yeah, of course it's not passive right now, but in 10 years, when you got 100 units and you've got a property management company in-house that's managing them, dude, 10 years from now, you're not having to flip houses. Here's why flipping houses is dangerous. It's a job. It's a job. It's a self-employed job. I mean, you're working for yourself, and you're making maybe good money, but you're making good money that you could probably make at a normal job that has way less risk. So when you're flipping houses, you're in charge of everything, and the deal could go to zero and you make nothing. So wow, you make 200 grand a year flipping houses, and then the market changes and you lose 200 grand. It's like, well, if you just had a job, you might as well just stick with a good job that you like rather than flipping houses and then take the extra money, dump it into rentals.
I agree with what you said. Flipping is a job. It is active income. You have to work for it. What I would say is that I think that if you do flipping right and you do it well, you can make way more money flipping houses than almost any W-2 job can offer. So let's say you only flip 10 houses a year and your average profit on that is $50,000, your net profit. You're making $500,000 a year with 10 flips, just 10 flips. That's better than probably a lot of people make in their W-2 jobs. Actually, not probably. That's better than a lot of people would make in their W-2 jobs. So flipping, you can make a lot of money. And I think there's ways to mitigate the risk by learning how to run numbers correctly, by having great crews and actually running systems and processes and putting together your rehab budget and making sure that you're on track and you're on schedule for your rehabs. So I think there's ways to mitigate the risk. The thing that I love about flipping, though, is to scale a rental portfolio. The way that I think is the best way for the average person to scale a rental portfolio, it's through the BRRRR method. And flipping works synergistically with the BRRRR method. You are out there, you're hunting down deals, you're finding deals, you're buying at 65 to 70% of the ARV minus repairs. And you can just, when you get really great at that, then you can decide, am I going to keep this as a BRRRR property or am I going to flip this property? Right now, again, going back to the whole point of this discussion, it does not make sense to keep a lot of properties as BRRRR properties. Let me give you an exact example of something that I ran numbers on just a couple days ago. I'm buying a house for $120,000. I'm going to put $60,000 into it. I'm going to be all in for $180,000. The house is going to be worth about $240,000. It would rent for about $1,900 a month. But if I take that to a bank and I try and BRRRR out of that, right now, they are not going to give me 80% of the appraised value of the house. They're going to give me, it's called debt service coverage ratio, which basically means that they're going to look at the income that that house is producing, and they're going to write a loan based upon that. They want you to be at a 1.1 to 1.2 debt service coverage ratio. With that being said, the bank would come back and say, hey, I'm going to give you a $125,000 loan on this house, which means that I'd have to leave $55,000 of my own money tied up into it. So if you want to go the rental property investing route, you have to be very, very rich and have a lot of liquid cash sitting out there.
That's a good point, but I'm going to argue this one. That's traditional rentals. If you want to go traditional rental, that's what you're going to do. And the same thing, I mean, again, we're arguing this for the sake of trying to take a hard line, and we both believe in both. But I'll say this. With flipping, flipping's super risky, super dangerous. If you just jump in there, don't know what you're doing, and make a lot of mistakes, right? Now, that's why Cam's advice was you get in there and you learn how to compensate for all that risk. The same thing I'd say with rentals. Traditional rentals aren't really working well right now. Maybe in some random markets around the country you can still do that. But for the vast majority of us, when you're paying 8% for interest, the cash flow is just not there. That's why I recommend getting into what I call either the business of rental properties, or what I really like is talking about active rental property income. Not passive rental property income, which again is just buy any random, any house and hope it's going to cash flow. It probably won't. But what if you bought a 7-unit property that you had to fix up, and it's going to take you a whole year, but by the time you're all done with it, you're making $2,000 a month in cash flow. That actually could happen in today. Now it's going to be a tremendous amount of work. You got to manage that project. You got to do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're making $2,000 a month in cash flow off that multifamily property, especially if you can turn it into like a midterm rental or a short-term rental, or maybe a assisted living facility where you actually have more of like the business side of it. Now that $2,000 a month, that comes in every month. I mean, if that's pure cash flow, so we're talking $25,000 roughly a year, 24 grand a year. For 10 years, it's $240,000. So yes, you put a year of work into it. Now, I'm not talking you personally hammering, but you're managing a project for a year. And yeah, you're not making the 50 grand that you would have on a flip, but you're making $25,000 every single year for the rest of your life. And that just goes up over time. So the reason I say rentals work if you do them right, in the same way that flipping works if you do it right. But rentals, you put the work in up front and you get your reward forever. And that's the real benefit of rentals, that you just keep doing that. It's like the analogy of oil wells, right? You go and dig a well to try to drill for oil. And you dig deep and you dig and you dig and you dig and you finally strike oil, and now you're pumping out $100 a month worth of oil. Well, that's not so, that's not so big. It's not going to change your life. But next month you do another one, and next month you do another one. And pretty soon you have a fleet of oil wells that are all pumping out money out of the ground every single month. You can retire and not have to keep flipping houses. And you just got passive income for life, and you get better over time. Your systems come better, and you don't have to work in the business as much because it's all outsourced to property managers, whether in-house or out-of-house, and you're retired at a young age in under 10 years. I think anybody can still do it, even in this market, in under 10 years.
My argument against that would be, let's use that sevenplex for example, that needs a full gut renovation. It's your very first deal ever. You are going to have to put a tremendous amount of time into getting that completely renovated. Well, first of all, finding the deal, finding people to fund the deal, finding contractors to rehab the deal, coming up with the scope of work, walking it through the rehab process. Then once you get done with that, you're going to spend a tremendous amount of time finding great tenants to rent those properties, because you just don't want to rent to anybody. You're spending so much time doing that. And if you can do all that and you have the time capacity to do that and then make $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, like, that is great. The problem is most people in a W-2 job do not have the time capacity to go through that entire process. They just don't. So how do you get out of your W-2 job that will buy you the time to do that? That's why I think flipping works, because flipping will not buy you out of your W-2 job, but will get you out of your W-2 job, that then allows you the time to find that sevenplex and rehab it and find great renters.
That makes a good point. So before we wrap this thing up, I do want to let's go a little on nuance. Let's drop the hard line of what we think, and let's talk about maybe how to do both. But before I get into that, and I want Cam, you maybe to start with that, because I do ask this, hey, if you guys are enjoying this video right now, if you think this is helpful, if you want to learn more about real estate investing, whether flipping or rentals, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. Cam and I have a podcast we do every single week. We put out clips and we put out the whole episode every single week on this YouTube channel. So follow along, hit the subscribe button, and you'll learn so much about real estate from both our guests and from our kind of duo episodes. So with that said, Cam.
Dude, I'm so glad we're dropping the hard line, because I love rental properties.
Yeah,
and I love flipping, and I love rental properties. I think that the best route, truly I do, is for the average person to do both. I think that flipping gets you out of your W-2 job, and you can make really great active income. Yes, it's risky. Your W-2 job is risky. You could walk in tomorrow and get fired. So everything's risky. But when you're flipping, you're making active income that then allows you to be a part of an industry where the rentals just work cohesively with that, where it's not like, hey, I'm an accountant by day focusing on, Fortune 500 companies and cooking their books, don't do that. But and then trying to do rental properties on the side. It's like my entire life is built around finding deals, meeting contractors, raising money, learning this entire process, and then you can pick and choose if you want to keep it as a rental or if you want to keep it as a flip. And then on top of that, the interest rates go up, it might be time to flip more. As the interest rates drop back down and you can lock into really, really good debt, you can say, well, we're going to keep more rental properties now. And so I love them both. I think that they can work so cohesively together. And for the person that's just starting out that doesn't have, a trust fund or mom and dad's money or anything like that, flipping properties and doing rental properties at the same exact time is the best way to do it.
I don't disagree. I think that they do work really well. Like you can cherry pick the best deals that you want to hold onto as rentals. You can let the other ones go. You can flip those that you want to. You can wholesale ones you don't even want to flip. You could wholesale the ones that are kind of in between. There's a lot of options. The key there is just to build a real estate business and generate lead flow or deal flow, as we call it. Like you just get deals coming in and you can figure out what to do with them. Now, I'd love to kind of close this up with just a quick discussion around who should flip, who shouldn't flip, who should do rentals, who shouldn't do rentals. I'll ask you that, Cam. Who should not actually probably flip houses right now? Who do you think? And then I'll throw my thoughts in.
People shouldn't flip houses. If you don't have a tolerance for risk, it is risky. People shouldn't flip houses if you don't have the time to invest into it, because I see a lot of people, I call them the weekend warriors, that see an Instagram ad about flipping houses or an HGTV show, and they're like, I want to do that. And they don't have the time or the resources to actually learn how to do it, but they just go out there and they buy a house and they start working on it, and they realize, I don't know anything about this, I'm going to lose a lot of money. So I would say the people that don't have the time, that you shouldn't flip houses. Like if you have money, invest it into a fund, a syndication, something like that, and just let that pay you. But in the people that shouldn't buy rental properties, honestly, I think everybody should buy rental properties. I do. I think that rental properties, there's the fact that you are getting your loan paid down by the tenant, it's appreciating value, and you're cash flowing, man. It's the trifecta. Everybody should buy rental properties.
I would just add, if you're not willing to learn, like if you're not willing to read some books, listen to some podcasts, watch some YouTube videos, and really learn how to do either of them, you shouldn't do either of them. Both require more work, more effort, more time, and more risk than you probably think. I still think they're amazing. I think everyone should do it. But if you're not willing to put into work to do anything, you shouldn't do anything, right? Like people want to get the results for the work they didn't do. And so don't be upset. I love that quote. Don't be upset by the results you didn't get, by the work you didn't do. And so, yeah, if you're not willing to invest some time and money in education or going to conferences or joining a group or whatever, you can't just wing it. It's not just a winging it kind of a thing, especially when you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. So, I mean, I have people come to me all the time. They are entrepreneurs. They own a 7-figure business. They're making $1 million a year from their business, and maybe they own a chain of car washes or something like that. And they're like, yeah, I got extra time now. I'm going to go and get into real estate, whether it's flipping or rentals. And my argument to them always is like, don't. Like, you have a business that's working, or you're a sales guy and you're really good at your sales job, and so you finally got some freedom and flexibility. You want to jump over to a brand new business that you have to learn from the ground up. So I would say people who are already making a killing with a job they like or a career or a business they like, maybe think twice about jumping into real estate. Instead, say, how can I double down on my business and go from $1 million a year to $1.5 million or $2 million a year, and then dump all that extra money into a syndication, into a fund, into a spread of between mutual funds, stocks, and real estate from a completely passive standpoint. I mean, I've got 2,500 investors in Open Door Capital, and like most of those people just have full-time jobs that make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not millions a year, and they just invest with us. And I know, Cam, you raise a lot of capital for your flips, and so those people, they've just decided, hey, I don't want to do it myself. I like my job. I have good money. I'm just going to give it to Cam.
Yep.
There we go. All right. Any closing remarks? Any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I love real estate.
I love real estate too. Everyone, subscribe to the channel. If you thought this was helpful, share it with your friends, and we'll see you on another video. Take care.
Boom.
How'd you feel like that? Great. Good. That was entertaining.